Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our discussion today. We are going to talk about a question many of us think about. Is reading books better for you than watching television? It's a topic that often brings up strong opinions, and we're here to explore different sides of it. We have two guests with us. First, Sarah, who believes strongly in the power of books, and Ben, who thinks television also has a lot to offer, and that we should find a balance. Sarah and Ben will start with their opening thoughts. Then, they will have a chance to respond to each other. After that, I will ask them some questions, and finally, they will give their closing statements. Let's begin.
Thank you, Alex. I believe that reading books is a much better activity for us than watching television, especially for our minds. When you read a book, your brain is very active. It's not a passive experience like some television watching can be. My first main point is that reading really helps our imagination and creativity. When you read a story, you create the characters, the places, and the events in your mind. The author gives you the words, but you build the world. This is a wonderful exercise for your brain, making you more creative in other areas of your life too. Television, on the other hand, usually shows you everything. The pictures are already made, the characters have faces and voices chosen by someone else. Secondly, reading is fantastic for improving vocabulary and language skills. Books, especially good ones, often use a wider range of words and more complex sentences than many TV shows. When you meet new words in a book, you learn them in context, which helps you remember them and use them yourself. This makes your own speaking and writing better. My third point is about concentration and focus. To read a book, especially a novel, you need to concentrate for a good amount of time. You follow a story, remember details, and keep track of characters and plots. This practice of sustained attention is very important in today's world, where there are so many distractions. This skill of deep focus is something that watching short TV clips or quickly changing channels doesn't help to build. So for these reasons, I feel books offer a deeper, more rewarding experience.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Sarah, for your points. I agree that reading books is valuable, but I don't think it's fair to say it's always better than television. My main point is that television, if we choose what we watch carefully, offers unique benefits and is a very important medium in our lives. Firstly, television is a great tool for visual learning and can be very accessible. Think about documentaries that show us amazing animals in Africa, or take us to distant planets, or explain complex science. Seeing these things can make them much easier to understand and remember than just reading about them, especially for people who are visual learners, or for children. TV can bring the world into our living rooms in a very direct and engaging way. It can make learning exciting. Secondly, television can be a wonderful source of shared cultural experiences. Many people watch the same popular series, sports events, or news programs. This gives us common things to talk about with friends, family, and colleagues. It can help us feel connected to others and be part of a larger community discussion. My third point is about relaxation and the diverse entertainment TV offers. After a long and stressful day at work or school, sometimes watching a funny show or an interesting movie is a good way to relax and switch off. Television offers so many different types of content, from drama and comedy to news and educational programs. There's something for everyone, and it can be a simple way to unwind. So while books are great, I believe good television also has an important place. It's about the quality of what we watch and how we use it.
Ben makes a fair point about choosing television carefully. He says we can select good quality programs, and I agree that some documentaries or educational shows can be informative. However, let's be realistic. How many people truly watch television that way all the time? Often, people turn on the TV and just watch whatever is on, or they flick through channels without much thought. This kind of passive viewing doesn't offer many benefits. It becomes just a way to pass time, not to engage your mind. And even when television is educational, the process of learning is different. When you read, your brain has to work harder to understand the concepts, to decode the text, and to build the meaning. This active mental work is what strengthens cognitive skills like critical thinking and analysis in a unique way. Television, even at its best, often presents information in a more pre-digested format. So while good TV exists, the very act of reading, the process itself, is what I believe offers more consistent and deeper cognitive advantages.
Sarah, I understand your point about the active process of reading, and I agree it's very beneficial. Reading certainly makes our brains work in important ways. But saying that reading is always better, or that its process is inherently superior for all types of learning or for all people, might be too strong a statement. For example, some complex scientific ideas or historical events can be made much clearer and more memorable through visual demonstrations or reenactments on TV. Seeing a process can be more effective for understanding than just reading a description. Also, we need to remember that some people find reading very difficult, or they simply don't enjoy it as much. For them, good television can be a vital source of information and learning that they might otherwise miss. And let's not forget that quality varies greatly in both books and television. There are many poorly written books or books with very little substance, just as there are low-quality TV shows. So it's not just about the medium, but about the content and how we engage with it. A thoughtful documentary can be more enriching than a trivial novel.
Thank you both for those interesting rebuttals. Let's explore a few more specific points. Sarah, you've emphasized that reading is a more active mental process. However, Ben mentioned documentary. Can't watching a complex, well-made documentary also make you think deeply and engage your critical thinking skills?
That's a valid question, Alex. Yes, a very good documentary can make you think, and it can present new information that challenges your views. I wouldn't deny that. However, the engagement is often guided by the filmmaker's perspective, the images chosen, and the narration. With a book on a complex topic, you are more in control of the pace. You can pause, reread, reflect, and form your own mental images and connections more independently. So while a documentary can be stimulating, I still believe reading offers a deeper level of personal cognitive processing.
Interesting point, Sarah. Now, Ben, a common concern about television, especially for children but also for adults, is that it might shorten attention spans due to its fast pace and frequent changes. What's your view on that?
That's a legitimate concern, Alex, and I think it's something we do need to be mindful of, especially with children's television or certain types of fast-edited content. However, not all television is like that. Many dramas, documentaries, or even some slower-paced educational programs require sustained attention to follow the narrative or the argument. I believe it's more about the type of content and viewing habits rather than television itself universally shortening attention spans. Mindful viewing and choosing programs that encourage focus can counter this.
That leads to another question for both of you. We've talked about books and TV in general terms, but of course, there are many different types. Is it truly fair to compare, say, a challenging classic novel to a lighthearted reality TV show? Or a simple children's cartoon to a serious, in-depth documentary series?
That's an excellent point, Alex. No, it's probably not fair to make such direct comparisons across vastly different types of content. A challenging novel and a serious documentary might both offer significant intellectual stimulation, though in different ways. My argument is more about the general tendency and the inherent nature of the medium. Even a simple book often requires more imaginative input from the reader than a simple TV show. The act of reading itself, regardless of genre, tends to engage certain cognitive functions more actively.
I agree with Sarah that comparing extremes isn't very helpful. A well-written, thought-provoking TV series can be far more enriching than a poorly written, superficial book. The quality of the content is key in both mediums. A good documentary can expand your understanding of the world just as much as a good non-fiction book. And a lighthearted, well-made comedy show can provide necessary relaxation, which also has its benefits, just like an easy reading novel might. So we should compare like with like and recognize the value in high-quality content, whatever its form.
To summarize my position, while I acknowledge that good television exists and can be enjoyable or informative, I firmly believe that reading books offers more significant and consistent benefits for our minds. Reading actively builds our imagination, expands our vocabulary in a deeper way, and improves our ability to concentrate and think critically. These are essential skills. When we open a book, we are not just passively receiving information, we are engaging in a creative and intellectual partnership with the author. This unique process helps us grow, understand ourselves and the world more profoundly, and develop a richer inner life. Reading is a special and deeply rewarding activity that we should always make time for.
In conclusion, I've argued that television, when chosen with care, offers many valuable experiences. It can be a powerful tool for visual learning, making complex topics accessible to a wide audience. It provides shared cultural touchstones that connect us, and it offers diverse forms of entertainment and much-needed relaxation. While reading has its undeniable strengths, particularly in developing imagination and deep focus, it's not the only way to learn or to engage our minds meaningfully. Both books and television have their place. The key is not to see them as enemies, but to choose quality content in both, and to find a healthy balance in our media consumption that enriches our lives in different ways.
Thank you very much, Sarah and Ben, for sharing your thoughtful perspectives and for such an interesting discussion today. We've heard strong arguments for the unique benefits of reading books, focusing on cognitive development, imagination, and language skills from Sarah. And from Ben, we've heard a compelling case for the value of television in visual learning, cultural connection and relaxation, emphasizing the importance of mindful choices and balance. Ultimately, it seems the quality of the content and how we engage with it are crucial, whether it's a book or a television program. This debate has certainly given us all a lot to think about regarding our own media habits. Thank you both again, and thank you to our audience for listening.